bring up a new life, some of the things that we've seen is when you look at parents, children, and money, is that intergenerational wealth often doesn't last as long as we think it should. I think some of the stats say 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth within the second generation, whereas 90% do it by the third generation. Understanding all of this, and not all of us are coming from wealthy families, what are some of the things we should be doing? Bringing up kids, trying to shape them in terms of good financial behaviors, and what are the questions that we should be having and conversations we should be having with our children?
So I think there's two parts to it. So I think the first piece is the equipping them with skills, but I think you can also practically put them in a really powerful position when they're older from a savings and investing perspective. So, it's commonly known that time is the most important or most powerful force when it comes to investing. And for a young child, newborn baby, they've got time. We may not have time anymore, but they've got time. And so if you can start investing on their behalf very early on, I think that's very powerful. And obviously the easiest way to do that in South Africa is a tax-free investment. So I think that's the starting point. I think you've got to be thinking about practically what can you do, what investments can you make on behalf of your children at a very young age, because that'll put them in a really good position.
What is the significance of having a tax-free savings account? How does it fit into your plan?
So in South Africa, and this was introduced a couple of years ago, there's something where we call either tax-free investment or tax-free savings. So most of the big investment firms in South Africa offer it. And what it allows you to do, it allows you to invest or save up to 36,000 Rand per tax year, up to a total of 500,000 Rand in your lifetime per individual, into an investment or into a savings account, etc. And that the return or the growth on those funds, there's no tax that's applied. So in our example here, my daughter's just been born a year ago. I've now saved 2 years of 36,000 Rand for her. And that money will now grow, if I've invested it well, will grow over her lifetime until she takes that out. And that growth won't be taxed. Where normally, obviously, if you invest, there's tax implications. It may be income tax, maybe capital gains tax. So there's actually no tax. So the benefit here is that you will never have to pay away any of that growth or any of those returns on your investment. So not only do you have time now, but also you effectively can generate returns that are tax-free.
I mean, let's be honest, 36,000 Rand, when you think in bigger picture, and only 500,000, that doesn't sound like much if you're saving over the long term.
Well, so I think there's a couple of things here. So obviously you must invest appropriately so you can outgrow inflation, so that's important. But again, in our example with starting to invest for a kid or child that's just been born, if you look at, so your 500,000, you'll hit that limit after the first 13, 14 years. But if they don't go and effectively withdraw that money when they hit 18 or 21, etc., and they just leave it, I mean, we've run the numbers, and based upon realistic growth assumptions, I mean, that could fund their retirement when they're at 65 without them adding to it at all. So it's actually a very powerful, again, goes back to that piece around how powerful time is in this case. If they're just been born and they're going to retire at 65, that's a long time for the money to grow.
So essentially a small amount, but kind of a profound impact over the long term.
Most definitely.
I know you're a new father. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is she going to get any pocket money?
So different people have different views on whether it's pocket money allowance, whether you get it for just being a good child, or whether you have to do some kind of chores. When I grew up, I didn't get any explicit pocket money, and I had to do the chores, so I think I got a raw deal. But I think it's a very powerful tool in terms of helping have those conversations with our kids. So just like we earn income, and that may be a salary or otherwise, and we have to think about how much do we use on the necessities, how much do we use on the things that we want, and how much do we then put away from an investing savings perspective. If you're giving your child pocket money or allowance or whatever it may be, and you've got savings and investment vehicles set up and they can see how it grows, it's a very, very tangible, useful way to have that conversation. To say, well, I'm going to give you pocket money, but if you put certain amount into your tax-free savings or into your investment account, let's see how it grows.
The other side of it is obviously, as we know, parents all want the best for their children. So in terms of wanting the best for their children, what are some of the things that you should be putting in place? And if you're speaking to a financial advisor, what are the type of questions you should be engaging a financial advisor with?
So there's a flip side to this, and it also has to do with time. The fact is that if you have a young child, your responsibilities are going to be for much longer. So if you've got a 1-year-old, the next 18, 19, 20 years, they're going to be solely dependent upon you. So I think when speaking to a financial advisor, you also have to think about, especially in the wealth building phase, you have to think about how do you protect you and your family, and most importantly, your young ones who are going to be dependent upon you. How do you protect them for the eventualities that may happen in life? How do you protect them, if you're not able to earn an income anymore, if you're not able to build that wealth for them or for you to continue to support them? So I think that's a very important piece. I think the exciting piece is obviously the piece around investing, growing your wealth. And it's great to do that, but it is very important that your advisor also sits with you and says, well, what happens if something outside of your control happens during that journey that effectively leaves you in a position where you aren't able to continue to save or generate that income yourself? And, I think that's a part that's often overlooked. And, I think there's a very important piece to that. It's not only, everybody always thinks about, well, what happens if I'm no longer here?
Right.
Do I have life cover in place? Do I have appropriate life cover with my company? If I work for a company, do I have appropriate life cover outside of that? But you also have to think about, what happens if, you don't pass away, but you are not able to work and generate income? What happens if you have some kind of disability or a critical illness? Your lifestyle changes, your resources that are needed change at that point in time. So that often is not as well catered for, especially for people who are salaried employees of companies. Often the life piece is dealt with quite well, but sometimes the piece around what we call living benefits is not dealt with very well. And that's where a financial advisor is super important. It's great to have a long-term plan, to be disciplined in executing in it. If something comes out of left field, you've got to be prepared, for that, especially again, for your kids who, as you said, we all want to give them, the most important start in life and a great start in life. There's an enormous amount of peace of mind that comes in having options available for you and for your kids. And like I said, the advantage you've got here is I've got 18 years to do this and reap the benefits of time.
Yeah. And she's got a very long time before she starts spending it.
Hopefully.
Darren, thanks for joining us. If there's any last thoughts, please go ahead and share with our viewers.
I think for many people, having a child, whether it's their first or second or third child, triggers these thoughts. Have they got everything in place, for their children, for their circumstances, etc.? There's an enormous amount of trusted resources out there. So I think it is something that typically people are prompted to do something about when they have a new baby, but they may battle to, find out or decide exactly how to go about that.
Darren, thanks again for your valuable insights and all the best into fatherhood.
Perfect. Thank you very much.